And that's another season done and dusted, another good one, which means now it's time for the final power rankings of the season. If you haven't joined us for a power rankings video before, this is how they work. It's something I update every round throughout the season. It's a top 10 list based on recent form and championship position across MotoGP, Moto2 and Moto3. And as we've taken the checkered flag for the last time across all three classes, this is where they stand as a top 10 as of the end of that Grand Prix at Valencia. Now at the end of the video, I'm going to put up a little clip that just shows what the rankings were after each round and just play them all the way through. So you'll be able to see where everyone was at any point in the season as well. If you want to watch the full mid-season rankings where we were at the mid-season break, that is also going to be linked above there. I think it goes on that side. Autofocus is up the shit here. All right. So let's not waste any time here. Let's pop the graphic up on the screen and get into our number 10 entry. Now at number 10, sneaking in this week, for the first time in the power rankings since, I think the last time we saw him was about round 6, it's Alex Rins. They're bringing it home at the end of the season with two wins in the last 3 races. Yeah, very good. Ended up 7th in the championship, missed a chunk of races in the middle of the season, which is probably why he dropped out of the top 10 for us there. Good effort to finish, 16 points behind Miller in 5th. It's fair to say he probably would have picked up those 16 points somewhere, put himself in behind Espargaro in the championship if he'd stayed fit for the whole time. Really good effort. Suzuki gone now, very sad to see. It was a bit blur for Suzuki most of the time, but finished strong and they deserved a couple of wins there. As we move on up to number 9 now, we're into the junior class here. We're into Moto3 and the next entrant is Dennis Foggia. The season that just didn't happen for him. I mean, I thought it was probably favourite at the start of the season to win the title. Just he had the experience, he's had the form coming to the end of last season. And he's one of those, like, if he finishes, he's on the podium kind of guys. And if he's not on the podium, it's usually because he's crashed out. But this season, it just didn't seem to happen for him. He had a decent start. He had a strong start to the season, a few podiums, but it never really, like, he had a real lean period there. And it's the same thing that happened to him last year. It just wasn't getting the results when you need them. And then if you lose touch, the other guys aren't going to give you those points back. So just never managed to make the ground back up again. But another good season, top 3 finish. He'll move up to Moto2 next season. Let's see what he can do. And up to number 8 now. We've covered all 3 classes here. We're into Moto2. Alonso Lopez. Late entry into the championship. Very impressive young man. I thought he was excellent when he did get in. So what did he come in? Like rounds 8 or 9, I want to say. Well, actually, I'll check that instead of just leaving it up to... So he missed the first 7. Came in, good results early, nothing spectacular, and really settled in, didn't he? Picking up podiums and then on to pick up wins and then finish the season with a bit of a flurry. I think he looks the goods, this lad. He looks the goods. And his form, despite the fact he's only managed to finish 8th in the championship, we know if he started all 7 of those first races, he's going much higher than that. So the form aspect of it, as him coming into the top 10, he probably would finish higher if he picked up a result in Valencia, but didn't manage to. And your heart breaks for the next man. It's Ayagura. It was his championship to lose, and boy, did he lose it. Oh, I was really rooting for him. Nothing against Fernandez, but I just think he deserved it in a lot of ways. He was just so good and so consistent and just saw off everyone who came for him. All these riders were banging in wins all the time. He was like, pick up my podiums, do this, that. He had pace when he needed to. Fateful day in Malaysia. Boy, did he have pace. It was his championship winning day. That was the day. It's what we'd call in Australia the premiership quarter in the AFL. It's the 3rd quarter, isn't it? It's the penultimate race, the penultimate quarter. That's where you put the pedal down. If you win that one, or you at least bank big in that one, and he was going to bank big over Fernandez that day, and he just would have been able to Bagnaia at home in the last race. Rush of blood to the head. Your heart breaks for him, really. But that is racing. I mean, if he pulled that move off and went on and won that race, we'd all be like, that's what we want our champions to do. Go and win the race when you don't even have to. He tried to do that thing, right? And it didn't work for him, and he'll come back strong next year. But yeah, tough one. Really tough. Really tough. But look, he was in good spirits at the FIM Awards thing at the end last night. He was having a bit of a bug on the dance floor, wasn't he? So, you know, good on him. Number 6 now. And this is where you feel free to, you know, Rob, you don't know what you're talking about. We're going to get a few more of those moments in, actually. So start taking notes. Number 6 is Fabio Quartararo. Second in the World Championship. I've only got him down here at number 6. The recent form aspect that I like to apply to the power rankings has kind of done him in here. And because it is a week by week progression, you do have to kind of find a place for people sometimes because other guys move up and down around them. But let's look at his run into the end of the season, because he was 91 points ahead. not saying it's his fault because the bike wasn't good for him for most circuits. So, I mean, compared to the Ducati and what the Ducati can do at most places, you're just going to lose time on the straights no matter what. You can't stay ahead even if you want to. But it's a results-driven top 10 list. It's not about people who overperform on their bikes and things like that. It's not how I apply my power rankings. I don't take that into account too much. It's mostly just results, unless I think someone's doing something ridiculous. But really, everything since Germany, I know he picked up a couple of podiums since Germany. His last 2 races were pretty strong to just try and hold on to that title, and he just couldn't do it. But it was poor. And again, not saying it was completely his fault, but a lot of DNFs in those last sort of 9 or 10 races as well. So number 6 for Fabio. But yeah, I still think Fabio's in the top tier of MotoGP riders, up with Marquez at the moment. I know Marquez has won all the titles and stuff, but I'm not saying he's done as much as Marquez, but I think he has the potential to do that, even if he doesn't have the best bike underneath him, if that makes sense. And up 3 places from Malaysia to finish in a top 5 position in the power rankings is Sergio Garcia. Came home with a flurry of podiums here. Found it difficult to find him a place in the rankings over the last few weeks because, you know, people are moving about a lot. So I've settled with him at number 5. Another really good season. Again, probably looked the favorite after a few rounds. Really was just beaten by a faster guy, but Garcia was, you know, I think he was really good. And whilst he was very consistent, picked up a lot of podiums, just didn't have that edge to just go and win those races, which is what you need. This is where you might think like, oh, how do you have him ahead of Fabio and things like that? But this is where I've got Bastianini in at number 4. But I just think his finish to the season was better than Fabio's, and results-wise it was. He finished a lot more races. He managed to pick up a win and a couple of podiums in his last sort of 6 or 7 races there, and then came home strong to overtake Aleix for 3rd in the championship. And that is where I've sort of, if you did it earlier in the season, Fabio would have finished ahead of him, but poor finish for Fabio, and it's not a strong finish, but a decent finish for Anaya to get himself into the top 3. So yeah, I've got him at number 4. Thought he was awesome. Into the top 3 now. At number 3, we've got a world champion, Moto2 world champion, Augusto Fernandez. He's jumped Bastianini for the last race there. What could have been still Iagura putting him to the sword ended up being him on the podium. I mean, a lot of guys fell in front of him, so, you know, fair play. But it's results-driven industry. It's a results-driven power rankings. I kind of had him lower for most of the run into the end of the season. Hovered around 4th for most of it. Just a good result in the last race there. Just jumped him up, won world champion now, and, you know, good on him. Not much else to say. We'll see how he goes in MotoGP with KTM, the poor lad. Anyway, I hope he doesn't suffer the same fate as the other talented men that have gone in before him. At number 2 now, and get your outrage ready, guys, because it's your MotoGP world champion, Pecco Bagnaia. Pitchforks! Can't be an angry man without pitchforks! Hear me out. I know he's just made the greatest comeback since Lazarus. In my run into the end of the season, he was with our number 1 man, tossing and turning in number 1, number 2, trading places. It was like the first lap at Valencia with him and Fabio just swapping spots all the time. That's what my last 4 or 5 rounds have been with Pecco and our number 1 placed man. As they've picked up the win or the result, it's just switched. And it's just the way that the cookies crumbled here. It's the way that the cards have fallen. Pecco didn't get a good result in the last race. I know he's ended up world champion, but he didn't get a good result in the last race. And a number 1 man picked up the win. Our number 1 in the power rankings, finishing 2022 as the most powerful rider in the MotoGP paddock, is Moto3 world champion Izan Guevara. I think this kid was amazing this season. He won the last race and Pecco did not. The only poor result really in his last 5, 6, 7 races was a 12th in Malaysia in, if I remember correctly, difficult conditions, and then he just went and won the last round. You know, whereas with Pecco, I mean, I know Pecco won in Malaysia and he had 2 podiums. Maybe this is wrong, but just the way that it's been working out, I've been swapping them as they've been winning races and the other one hasn't been winning races. And for the last round, Izan Guevara's gone and won the race and Pecco's come like 9th or some shit. That's it. If there was one more race of the season and Guevara didn't win it and Pecco won it, then probably would have ended up with Pecco on top, but it's not. It's Guevara. Guevara is our most powerful rider of the season. I didn't think I'd ever put a Moto3 rider on top at the end of a season when I started doing these power rankings, but it's just ended up that way. I think this kid's a jet. What a string of results. In this middle of the season here where he just smashed them. Erect acid. He's gone, was first, third, second, first, second, and then the title was gone. That was it. It was over. And then in the last 6 rounds, first, fifth, first, 12th, first, finished the season on 319 points to Pecco's 265 as well. So championship position, recent form, Izan Guevara is your most powerful rider in MotoGP this season. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you follow along throughout the season and keep up with them. It's all over there on Twitter. I'll put my Twitter again on the bottom so you can go have a look if you want. It's in the description. And that's it. Now I'm going to play the little clip where you'll be able to see where everyone was from round 1 to round 20 and how they moved throughout the season. And these are the little graphics that I put up on Twitter. We've got more videos coming out throughout the off season, so don't you worry about it. We'll see you very soon. See you on the next one.